So, um, watching a video from a YouTube channel that I just discovered today. Very, very good content. I'll pin the name in the thing, and you can check him out. Very similar to, he talks about a lot of the things I talk about, and yeah, really cool. I hope to actually collaborate with him one day because it's a very good channel. You know, a nice blend of humor and intelligence. You can check him out. But anyway, one of his videos inspired me to talk about the alien thing. And my point is, we've been given a story about evolution, right? And how, you had the primordial soup, and then somehow from this soup, which got struck by lightning. Wait, let's go back. We don't even know how water was made. So we had a big bang. So out of nothing came everything. And then the rock was spinning around a ball of gas, which was burning, even though it has no source of, there was no source of fuel to begin with. But anyway, it's burning. And then these rocks just kind of like got attracted to this ball of fire and just kept doing circles around it whilst this fireball is traveling through space. And then this rock decided to kind of like have, I don't know, somehow water just came, and then from the water it got struck by lightning or something. I don't know. We don't even know how the water came. We don't know how the clouds came, but whatever. And then things just started to grow out of it, and then marine life came. But before the marine life came, we don't even know. Somehow then they just came out of the water, and then they decided to live on the land, which means that there would have had to be trees and stuff for the marine animals to eat on the land. But we don't know how they got here, but whatever, let's get to the point. So we follow that track, blah 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 blah, and then lizards become men, and no lizards become things, and blah blah blah, and then we somehow have octopi we have bees, we have wasps, we have whales, we have gazelles, we have men, we have gorillas, we have lions, we have cheetahs, we have all sorts of animals. Somehow they don't know, but somehow that's the story. So obviously we're bipedal, yes, and we have 2 arms, 2 eyes, nostril, mouth, yeah, head. This is our shape, yeah. But somehow, every time they give us this alien thing, which is fed to us by the state, because we don't produce the content, they give us the content, stuff like Roswell and stuff like that, even through their propaganda, through the movies and stuff, they always depicted aliens as bipedal, with arms, a head, 2 eyes, nostril, mouth. Yeah? Now, if we go back to the beginning of the story, from the Big Bang, now let's assume Earth is rock A in a cluster of rocks called the Milky Way, yeah? So another rock somewhere got fired off in another direction. But say the ball of fire that got attracted to was bigger or smaller, right? And then somehow water appeared there, or I don't know, they have their own substance that is kind of like water, but not water, whatever it is, and they evolved. What makes you think that they're going to evolve and have their story, whatever the evolutionary tale is going to be, for them to end up as bipedal like us? It is literally impossible for that to happen. Think about this logically. Use your brain and think about it critically. It's virtually impossible for that to happen. Now, with that being said, why would they now, like, so for whatever reason, their evolutionary tail could be totally different. They could be the size of elephants. They could be the size of like 4 times the size of an elephant. They could be whale-like creatures. Their whole planet or whatever, in quote unquote, could be water-based, right? So their mode of transport, that whatever mode of transport they create, right, will not factor Earth's, like, whatever mode of transport they have will be so different to, like, it probably wouldn't even be adapted to our world, right? It probably wouldn't be aerodynamic, because imagine that maybe whatever they breathe there is denser than oxygen or lighter than oxygen or whatever it is, yeah. So it probably wouldn't even be aerodynamic. Furthermore, and this is a point that he touched on about the alloys, the metals and stuff that they make their spaceships from. What makes you think that it would even be made of metal? Like, think about it. Like, what if on their planet all they have is like diamonds, or they have a material that's similar to glass or whatever? And then they have these lights on their spacecraft, just like we have lights on our fucking flying vehicles. It's a joke. It's a joke. Like, oh my God, it's a joke. It literally is a joke. And then the guy said something that was really funny. It was like, these guys have all this advanced technology, but they're always naked, right? It's like, yeah, even that. Like, they could be totally, they could literally be balls of goop. They could literally be like just slime. Or they could be like tree-like things. They could be they could be like insects, praying mantis or whatever. Right? They could be like, if you look at the odds of that, of the bullshit evolutionary stories, right? Even let's give that some credence and say it happened, right? If evolution was to happen, right, and then we have our story with our primordial soup and whatever, and our journey to here, their journey could be totally different to ours. It could have taken even longer for them to come into existence, or they could have gone a different path or whatever it is. So it's not possible. Furthermore, why would they come here? Come here and do what? Like, why don't they go to the moon? Why don't they go to another planet? Why don't they go to Jupiter? Whatever it is. How would they even breathe here? Unless you're telling me that there's oxygen on their planet, which would then make it it will make your whole evolutionary story that you've told us a nonsense, a complete nonsense. Right? Now, furthermore, why do they always have these? Because the propaganda, it foreshadows what's to come. Why do they always have lasers, which is something that we already have here? Why do they always have like bombs, and they use projectiles and stuff just like we do here? Like, it's like having two animals in two completely different ecosystems, right? Growing in totally different circumstances, situations, adaptations, whatever. And they somehow come up with the same modes of transport, and and how to create those modes of transport, even though they have different materials in the two places, and they have the same modes of protecting themselves, or the same modes of security. Bro, you're being lied to. There are no aliens. And furthermore, if they come from, we live in the universe, right? Quote unquote. So if that's the case, then they're not aliens, they're neighbors really, or they're just travelers. So, it's a lie. It's a lie. And I remember writing a thesis on this a few years ago. And, people have written stuff about this, like, Jesuit priests have written stories about, a man on the moon, and this idea of, aliens and stuff living on the moon. As far back as like 1600, 1700s, they were writing stories about this. It's a plan. It's an idea, something to unify all humanity, to get behind the one world government, because there's only one government, really. Like, people, whenever you say this, people think, oh, conspiracy. Bro, there's only one government. There's literally is only one government. There's no, like, your government bows down to another government, which bows down to another government, and it gets to a point where it stops, and wherever that stops is the government. That is the central point. Let me break it down. So say, for instance, you're from Canada, right? But the Canadian government bows down to the US government, or bows down to the British government, right? Right? Because it has to. Canada's not like independent as much as you might think you are, but you're not. The same applies to, look at the Commonwealth countries. You know, you've got somebody else from another place's face on your money that you're spending, or you spend another person's currency in your land. You live in, you're just a colony of Rome. Think about it. It's just like, like Carthage spending Roman coins. Yes, Carthage is in Africa, but it's a Roman colony. So in the same way, if I am in Africa and I'm spending US dollars in Ghana or Nigeria, bro, I am just a vassal state of the United States. That's it. Like, we need to be more. We need to just think deeper, and the answers will become obvious to us. So there's only one government really, because outside of the US government, which controls a large section of the world, right? Or the Chinese government, which also exerts influence in the East, or the Russian government, which exerts influence in its own sphere of control. Your government ain't shit. It's one government, and out of those three governments or whatever, they jostle for power, but really and truly, they all kind of also bow down. Essentially gets to a point where there's a central point. They all agree on certain things. So even if there are three entities, i.e. US, Russia, China, whatever you want to call it, the UN, whatever you want to fucking call it, at that point, that nexus where their interests intersect and collide, right? And converge, that is the one world government. That is the central point. Because that's where the decisions are made that affect you, even though you're 10,000 miles away in Papua New Guinea. So your government doesn't mean anything. Your government, they're just like placeholders. They're just there to make you feel like they're your government, but really they're not. They're just agents of that central government. Do you get it? It's just one world system, bro. Anyway, yeah, a word to the wise, as they say.